Hi, I'm Brooke. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about instant healing, healing being related to psychological things, stories, beliefs, and also I'm going to tie in a little bit of like a past life idea. I have a story that it takes some really interesting twists and turns. I promise you, you're not going to see the ending coming. I certainly did not. So I'm going to share all that here. And if you like that, stick around. And I like to preface these videos by saying, I did not start out in life believing any of these things. I did not start out spiritual or anything like that. A lot of stuff started to happen to me as an adult, and I have just completely shifted my consciousness. And uh, I would not like the things that I'm about to tell you, I wouldn't believe it if it didn't happen to me. I'll be honest, right? Or at least that's the kind of background that I came from, like very agnostic, very just like you live, you die. And now I have all these wild experiences where I can't deny it anymore. But the whole point of sharing these videos is if you are someone who's curious, if you're someone who was like me, who really didn't have any spirituality and things are starting to turn on for you, um, welcome. I feel like this might be a good place because it's taken me a lot of years to accept a lot of things because I had nothing, no reference point um, growing up. So and I feel like if you're having a lot of spiritual experiences and you totally are all in on it, but you just want to hear more stories, welcome. Everybody's welcome. And I like putting these things out there because I feel like I've heard things that I feel like turned on something in me or reminded me of something. And so I've just decided to start sharing these things because I've had so many to me like bizarre things that end up being amazing. And like you'll see it's like I thought I was gonna die, and then it turned out to be just this amazing synchronistic thing. Okay, so just a little bit about me. I'm an artist. I'm a fine art photographer. I am sitting in my art gallery in Manhattan Beach, California. There's a few pieces of art behind me. It's nighttime, so I feel like the colors aren't as bright as they usually are. I like colorful, bright, and all my artwork focuses on being in the moment, simple pleasures. I don't set up shots. I just happen upon something and just walking and there's like some people on the beach and it just moves me or just a row of trees. I just feel like the thing about me is when I started taking pictures in this way of just being in the moment, it really shifted something in me and opened up a lot to, I would say, other possibilities, other dimensions, whatever you want to call it. So if you're interested in seeing my artwork, I will put a link in the description to my website and to my Instagram. And feel free to check it out. Okay, so what is this story? I don't even know how to like sum it up, but basically, so I will put a link as well to another video I did that I titled like Miracle Healing. So in the beginning of my awakening, I had had a slip disc in my low back for a long time and I had major sciatic nerve pain down my right leg and it was years and years and years of that. And the doctors, they were like, you're gonna eventually have to have surgery. This is just what it is, right? So through a series of random things, I ended up at a healer. I didn't really believe in that, but that healer told me your back has a message for you. And he delivered the message. And within a few days, my whole back was aligned. Like the leg pain, everything went away. It was amazing. And I've never been the same. I've never looked at life the same. And since then, I just feel like if my bones can move like that, just from hearing the message that my back had for me, like everything's possible, right? So I really don't look at sickness and health the same as I used to before that. And let me preface this also with I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice. This is just a story that happened to me. Take it or leave it. You should always take care of yourself. I also really have come to understand whatever you believe strongly is what's good for you, which it's what's going to play out for you. So if you really believe, you're going to have to go to the doctor or do whatever, then go because that's what's right for you. And I only, like I said, I wouldn't believe these things if it didn't happen to me. I had that, my back shifting. And so after that, I was like, oh my God, everything's different than I thought it was. Okay. So cut to, and if you want to check that out, I'll link to it. Cut to years after that happened and a couple of years ago. I was home, I woke up one morning, I was feeling okay, and then I started to get a stomach ache. And it started to get worse and worse and worse to the point where it was so painful I couldn't stand up straight. And I got in bed, I curled up in a ball. I mean, it felt like maybe someone stabbed me in the stomach, and it was in my solar plexus. And I sat there and I was like, I think I need to go to the hospital, right? And for me to have that thought, like I don't even go to the doctor anymore, like for me to think hospital, right? That's how painful we're talking about. And I was like, shit, I think that's what I need, right? And then I sat there and I thought about it. I thought about going to the emergency room. And I was like, I really don't want to do that. I don't want to be in that energy. Like, what are they going to do? Right? Are they going to remove something? I don't want that. They're going to give me pills. I'm not going to take them. Right. And I was like, I really don't want to go. And then I had this thought, well, if I don't go to the emergency room, I could die here in my bed. Like, that's how bad it felt. And I really sat with that and I thought about it. And let me preface this by saying, like, I don't have children. I've never wanted that. I just, I'd probably think differently if I had a different life, right? But it was just me in my bed, and I thought about I could die here now. That's how bad it felt. And I thought, I'd rather die here in my bed than go to the hospital and die in that energy or do whatever it is they feel like they need to do. And so again, this is not something, I recognize this is an unusual perspective. I am not advising it, but just hear the whole story and you'll hear it makes sense in the end. Okay. But it was really interesting. Just something to think about. Like that was the first time I actually sat there and I realized I do have a choice. And that was my choice. Now, other people would probably make a different choice, and that's okay. But I think what's one thing is really interesting to point out is that you always have choices and you are making choices in every moment. And whatever choice you make is totally okay. But there's so much energy around I don't have a choice, like so and so said I had to do this, the doctor said I had to do this. There's so much of that. So I would say whatever choices you're making, like if I had chosen, let's say, to go to the hospital, I would know at that point I realized it was a choice, which is interesting because I think people don't think about it, like they think they have to do something. I mean, you really don't have to do anything. Again, I'm not advising what you should or shouldn't do. I'm just saying in that moment I realized I can just choose to stay here and die. Um, it sounds morbid, but it's not. Like it didn't feel like it. It actually felt really empowering, which I think is part of what comes next. So I realized I have a choice. This is my choice. And then in that moment, I thought, okay, well, do I want to die? And I thought, no, I don't feel ready to die. And then I thought, okay, I asked myself out loud, it's like, okay, Brooke Weiland, what do you believe? Do you believe that you can heal instantly, that you can shift timelines or however you want to think about it, like shift into a healthy body? Do you believe it's possible? And I said to myself, yes, yes, I do. I do believe it. I literally out loud said it. I was in a lot of pain, so I had to have like a certain amount of strength. And I believed it. And so I thought, okay, what can I do? And I've listened at this point now, I've listened to channeled material, I've read tons of books on healing yourself, all this stuff. So the thing that it came to me, I closed my eyes and I just put my consciousness in that spot where the pain was. I went right to the pain and just sort of asked, like, what is it? What are you, what are you trying to tell me? And so I put my focus there, and immediately the word betrayal came to me. Like I saw it clear as day, the word betrayal flashed. And I was like, okay. And then my mind started to like make things up. Oh, maybe I was like stabbed in the stomach in a past life. I started to concoct a story. And then I was like, no, no, no. I could tell the betrayal, that word came to me. The other thing was a concoction. So I thought, okay, forget about the story, doesn't matter. Betrayal. And I had seen, no, I'd heard like a channeled message once that really resonated, and I applied it to a lot of things in life. And it talked about whatever comes to you for healing, offer it healing. Whatever comes to you, just can you see both sides? Can you see the different possibilities? Can you offer it forgiveness? Can you offer it healing? So that came to my mind. And so I thought, okay, betrayal. Have I ever felt betrayed? Yeah, I know what that's like. Have I ever betrayed someone? I mean, to be honest, I'm sure I have. Maybe not in huge ways, or maybe I haven't. I don't even realize it, but I certainly can understand that being in a position where you feel desperate or just not really understanding that you're hurting someone or feel like you need something, and you have to do X, Y, or Z. So I looked at both sides and I realized I've really been on both sides of the coin and I can understand, right? And so I offered this feeling of forgiveness and of love and understanding to this concept of betrayal. I didn't have a specific thing, like a specific incident, but that word came and I did my best to feel into the different aspects that I could and not be judgmental, just allow. And I did. And I really felt the acceptance of it. And as I felt that, my body, my whole body, like everything opened up, everything felt better from doubled over. I could not straighten out my body. I was about to take myself to the hospital or call an ambulance, I guess. To like all of a sudden I felt so much better. Everything started to alleviate. And I was just like, whoa, that was awesome. Okay, now here's where it gets really, really interesting and fun. So that happened. And I just sat in bed for a while. It took a little while to just sort of feel normal. And at some point I started to feel hungry, right? I had been really nauseous with that whole feeling. Um, and so I had been going through this phase. So maybe a few weeks before this happened, I started to crave bell peppers, particularly orange bell peppers, sometimes red, but like the sweeter ones. I would go to the market, chop them up, put them in a Tupperware, and like snack on them. And I don't know where this idea came from. Just one day, I'm like, did it. And then I'm the kind of person like when I get into something, I'm like all in. So every day I'm eating bell peppers. So when I started to feel hungry again, I was like, ooh, I have bell peppers. I got really excited. I go downstairs to the refrigerator and I get the container and I look at the bell peppers and I was like, oh, right. Like something, I was like, I can't eat these. Well, I don't know why, right? Put the container back. I was like, well, that's weird. That's like my favorite thing, right? But I was like, okay, didn't question it. I just didn't eat them. And then I went about the rest of my day and I watched a video on YouTube from a channeler. Her name is Tara Arnold. And I had watched a few of her videos before this happened to me. I had just found her like a couple of days before that. And I sat down to watch YouTube. Her video came up and she was having like a live Zoom channeling the next day. And the title was Ascension Symptoms. And I was like, huh, well, maybe that's what happened to me. And I was like, well, I'll tune in, right? And so by the end of that day, I felt perfectly normal, went to bed, got up, started watching that Tara live Zoom, right? So she starts the Zoom, and right away she says, I apologize. I'm having terrible pain in my solar plexus. I might have to step off camera. And I was like, oh my God, that was me yesterday. I must be in the right place. Okay. So she says this, then she starts channeling. She brings through the channeled message. And as the message comes through, one of the things that's said is people who are watching this, a lot of people who are watching this have been poisoned in past lives, specifically with nightshades like bell peppers. I was like, what? I was floored. I mean, I wrote to Tara and I told her, and she's like, yeah, I mean, she said that a lot of times when she does that, like she'll have things come through her chakras to transmute the energy or whatever, and that was probably what was coming up. Um, and I mean, I was just amazed because I never snacked on bell peppers. Like in the weeks leading up, I have this intensity for bell peppers. Then this whole thing happens, and I think, sure, poisoning, that's a betrayal. Pain in the stomach, feeling nauseous. That's that everything lined up. And then the fact that I looked at those peppers and I could not for the life of me put one in my mouth. I was just like, get these away from me with no explanation, right? I had previously loved them. And that just blew my mind. Like the unfolding of it, the whole thing was so interesting to me and how it tied in all so perfectly. And then after that, I mean, now I'm fine. I could eat a bell pepper, but I don't really care. I don't even think about getting them anymore. That whole like, oh, I have to snack on them all the time, that just went away. So I thought it was to me, that was like one of the most interesting. It was really, in retrospect, like fun or funny. I mean, it wasn't fun. In the painful part, it was not fun at all. But I thought it was just so interesting how that all tied in. B, maybe the next time you're feeling ill. Now, of course, if you're in pain and you're scared, absolutely take care of yourself. That said, maybe in a lighter situation, you might want to ask, like, close your eyes, take some deep breaths, move into let your consciousness focus on the area that's having some discomfort. And just simply ask, just simply, is there a message for me? Is there something I need to know? And just allow your mind to quiet and see if something comes. And I thought it was really interesting how I went through the experience that the word came so clear, came in, boom. And I saw it like in my mind's eye, I saw the word spelled out. And that was so clear. And then immediately my mind started to make up a story. And I recognized, no, that's a story that I'm making up versus the word that actually came to me. So, be clear with yourself. Am I making this up or is this coming through? And just allowing what needs to come through, and then allowing, even if it doesn't make sense, allowing yourself to feel into it. Like I really just allowed myself to feel it. And then that exercise, which is a good exercise to do no matter what, the idea of offering forgiveness to everything, right? And the idea that we're all one anyways, but either way, even if you don't believe we're all one, forgiveness is really for yourself, right? If you're holding on to something, then that's just you holding it in you, right? If you're angry, you're holding that feeling inside of you. So offering that forgiveness, like if you're honest with yourself, you know what both sides of the coin are like. You maybe you haven't done some heinous thing, but you probably thought about it. Right? You probably at least thought, you've probably at least been mad enough to have a thought about something. So you have some understanding. And if you're being honest, you probably done one or two heinous things, right? I feel like who hasn't? But you could at least admit that you've thought some things. Anyways, so that's my story. I thought it was really interesting. I'm curious to hear what you guys think, if you've had similar experiences. Have you ever had something like that? I've never personally had like an actual memory of a past life. But clearly I got the energy of a life where I guess I was poisoned. Um, and that needed to come up, right? And I also think there's just a good question, again, not medical advice, but as I move through these experiences, I feel like there's so much in our current culture where we just throw an external solution at it, and that might temporarily work, but it doesn't get to like think about like there was a feeling of betrayal in me, and it wanted to be wanted to surface, it wanted to be seen, it wanted to be loved, however you want to think about it. And I think there's still issues for me around that topic. It probably wasn't just that one time, you know, if we've all lived a bunch of times. But it certainly helped alleviate a lot of things for me. And so I just think it's really interesting, like before you jump to any external solution, maybe not a health problem, maybe just finances, anything, before you jump to, oh, well, it's so and so's fault, or I need this, pill, or I need this relationship, or whatever it is, before you jump to that external thing, is there some kind of internal, uh, can you sit with the internal? Can you offer forgiveness? Can you allow information to come up? And you might be surprised. I was surprised. I thought that was really surprising and really amazing. And please like, comment, subscribe. Please comment if you have experiences like this. I would love to hear it. So fun to me. All this stuff is amazing. The more that these things happen, the more I just think, wow, things are not what I thought they were. And it's so much more fun, even though sometimes it can be uncomfortable and painful. But when you allow things to come up and you let them just wrap up like that, it's just so satisfying. It's so interesting. It's so fascinating that what there was like a part of me that was getting myself ready, like, oh, here, buy some bell peppers. They're so great, but and then having this experience come up, and then having that, being at the right place at the right time to hear that message. And it was so specific. Amazing. To me, that's amazing. It's fascinating. All right. Now I'm just I'm just reveling in it for a minute. But anyways, hope you're having a wonderful day or night wherever you are. And I'll be back for another video at some point. Okay, bye.